equality, fairness, impartiality, justice. These words were once the banner that united the United Sanctuary, from the royal paladins to the shadows, from the powerful mages of Oracle think tank to the unhinged and forbidden knowledge of Genesis. This is a truth they all knew well. They may have disagreed on how best to serve that equality. Some focused on outcomes, while others opportunities. However they disagreed, the facts remained that all who lived there valued each other as much as themselves. In some cases, like Shadow Paladins, that value was low, but nevertheless still equal. Another thing that should not go unmentioned before we dive into the specifics is the high amount of artifacts that are held within the lands of Keter. The blaster arms, the blaster blade itself, the Keter drive, and so many others are held in the land. All these things I will go into when time allows. I mention the past before talking of the present, for to understand Keter, you must know its past. Being run primarily by humans, the land of Keter changed the most over the godless era. I mentioned before a civil war, and I will cover that shortly, but the stage remains unset. Shortly into the godless era, the line of royalty that united the royal paladins and the leader of the sanctuary came to an end, as it is known to happen. While this was happening, the once fertile lands they called home began to wither without the grace of Messiah to protect them. Out of desperation, the powerful and wise floated onto a great flying city powered by the Keter drive, leaving the train below to wither, suffer, and die. It was this world the noble hero Bastion was born into, a great knight in white armor, uniting those in the city and blind to the suffering below. In his pride and arrogance, he showed his power in the face of riots that he was too noble to pay attention to. As with many of nobility, they viewed anything not of the flying city as rotten and worthless. It was for this reason he refused the Blaze Maiden's entry to retrieve the Sunrise Egg from their lands. These are just a few examples of his arrogance, and the actions that would cause harm to not just him, but his land. The noble Bastion Prime would not dirty his boots with the unworthy, or so it would appear, until the day the sky fell. Revolution. This was the word on the lips of youth, a once loyal knight of the order. Revolution was the word that would shake the very essence of Keter Sanctuary to its core. He once put down riots as a young man, only now to lift them up. Bastion was disgusted by this betrayal, possibly more than youth was of his own weakness and naivete. Using his unique skill set, a large arsenal of weapons and armor, and his desire for a world where the innocent were protected, not ignored, he led the largest rebellion Keter has ever seen. Unfortunately, but irrelevant to Youth Burke, the Blaze Maiden Reno was caught up in this rebellion, as was the right hand of Bastion and the Blitz Company itself. Essentially, this man forced the entire world to see the plight of the ground and the drive they had for equality. The rebellion culminated in a great duel in the arena of Albion, and was eventually interrupted, allowing the dispute to be resolved more or less peacefully after dealing with the interruption. The rebellion resolved due to and involving a large number of the massive events, most of which did not involve Keter Sanctuary as an entity, despite it being the setting for the events. At a later date, I will cover the entire rebellion, but I hope you understand the majority of what the political event meant to the people living in the land of Keter, and that is what is most important to today's ritual. As the diplomatic situation of the rebellion came to a close, Youthburg and Bastion eventually negotiated a peaceful resolution. Alden, One of Bastion's loyal followers eventually came to represent a sword, connecting the sanctuary to the earth. He was a naturally humble man, disliking to be called by rank, instead asking his army to call him Alden. As a beacon of compromise, Alden's influence grew. He eventually came to be one of Keter's greatest diplomats, eventually being known as the Destined One of Protection, Alden. The most recent information I have is that he was engaged in diplomacy with the pirates of Grand Blue, only to have it break down and begin naval combat. It would seem even the smoothest of talkers cannot halt the ambitions of the captain. On the topic of ambition, it has been pointed out to me that it is probably the closest Keter has to a theme. While it is not their origin, it is fair to say that the ambition with the drive to accomplish is the most common string uniting those of Keter. From Youthberg's desire for equality to Sol Ryvern's hunt for knowledge and understanding, all of Keter seek to improve themselves and the world around them. Speaking of the great sage, he is probably the best way to wrap up this ritual. Sol Ryvern is one of the many giants of Keter's sanctuary, and his home is a huge library, one of the largest homes of knowledge on the planet. As said, his ambition is to collect knowledge, and does so with his followers. His web of subordinates covers much of the world, aiding in his collection of knowledge. In fact, very much a creature of my own desires, he too has gathered most of the information of which I speak, arguably to greater effect. Unfortunately, I am unable to speak with him, as conversing and sharing of information could benefit us both, as he knows information that I do not, and I most certainly know information he does not, like the true nature of the Keter Drive itself. As much as I would like to continue talking on this topic, in the interest of time, and the fact that there are things going on that I desperately need to investigate further, I will have to cut things here. There's some very interesting events going on, and so far, it seems like I missed the vast majority of it, so I have a lot of catch-up to do, and once I finish doing so, you all will be the first to know. Either way, there's one more nation to go, so I will hopefully see you soon for that.